What is up, Mets and overall baseball fans? Thank you guys so much for coming back into the live stream, the latest live stream on the channel. I just got back home over the past hour to seeing Batman for the second time. It was just as good the second time as it was the first time, if not better. So that was definitely positive. During that time, however, I told you guys on social media, especially that because I'm out of the house, things were destined to happen. And of course, things have happened. And I'm truly blown away in so many ways on what has transpired tonight. And it's not officially announced for everything, but for the most part, it is. So most of you guys are probably watching this on replay early morning or at some point later today, that being March 19th, Saturday. It is currently 2:09 a.m. and I'm just flabbergasted. I really just want a live stream, even if this is an extended one, because boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about. What a crazy day it has been in the baseball world. The biggest dominoes have officially fallen, especially when looking at the infield market. So we'll be breaking down all these signings and really what is now next, not just for the rest of the MLB, but the Mets in particular. And yeah, just a lot to get into. I'm excited though. Again, smash that like and subscribe button if you're just chiming in or if you're watching on replay. Thank you guys all so much for being here. Really, really do appreciate it. Shout out all you guys. Kyle, thank you so much for your $2 donation. $2.79. Okay, Jays pushes chips to the table and get J-Ram. I mean, I know my Mets don't have the assets for J-Ram, so if he's going to go anywhere, I would like him to go to the Jays. I agree with you there. But again, appreciate the donation. Thank you guys all so much for being here. I know that this won't be a high viewership as we're live. I don't really care. I really wanted to just go live here because this is absurd. Absolutely absurd. We saw the news, the breaking news. The Atlanta Braves have done a fantastic job really keeping everything in-house until it's reported. Something a little similar that the Mets have done this offseason. You don't see too much reporting until, you know, a move actually happens. But the Braves are breaking their own news, and they did it once again today by acquiring the best closer out on the market, that being a longtime Dodgers great closer in Kenley Jansen. I immediately was not happy with that move as a Mets fan because they clearly get an absolute beast at the closer role. And yes, I know that Jansen struggled with his walk rate a lot last year, but there's no denying they still am on the MLB's elite at the position. So huge get on a 1-year, $16 million deal for Atlanta to prime away from the LA Dodgers. Dodgers, of course, got Freddie Freeman. So in return, they got Kenley Jansen. Not necessarily the most even trade-off, but it's definitely an interesting one. What a hectic offseason has been. Again, shout out to everybody that's first time in the live stream. Love and appreciate all you guys. Really, really do appreciate it. But the other big move that happened that we expected as we talked in our live stream earlier is, yes, Nick Castellanos goes to the Philadelphia Phillies on a 5-year, $100 million deal. That shouldn't really be a surprise. Castellanos brings massive pop on their bat. The Mets at this rate do not have the deadliest lineup in the division. It looks like that the Braves and the Phillies alike have more pop in their lineup over the Mets. But what is something that the Phillies don't have and what has been their biggest issue all along? It's called defense. They have 3 guys rolling out as a DH right now, and they're only going to be able to keep one of them at the DH position. So let's see how the Phillies do it in Nick Castellanos on 5 years, $100 million, and the Kyle Schwarber 4 years, $80 million. When these guys profile best as DH, they're going to slug like crazy. And yes, we're going to get blown out, I'm sure, at certain points in the season for us Mets fans. But unlike the Phillies, the Mets have the best defense. You can make that argument right now. Some of the best in all the division. And when you look at the type of on-base players the Mets have, they're not nearly as swing and miss as the Phillies are. They're going to be home run or bust. They give me a lot of 2019 Mets vibes, not necessarily with the type of known sluggers, but just in the sense of how swing and miss they're going to be. So Phillies, we'll see what they do. They're definitely going to be competitive. They will definitely be a thorn in the Mets side, but I think that defense is going to be the detriment to their success, potentially even worse than what it was last year, because on paper, they are an even worse defensive team that you'd imagine wasn't possible after the Phillies were bottom feeder. They were the worst team in shifting last year, and their infield was just atrocious, and their outfield overall was nothing special. Bryce Harper's a solid glove, but nothing crazy, and they have nothing else outside of that. So Phillies are going boom or bust with their offense. They're trying to compete. I don't blame them, but man, oh man, that thing has such a great chance to backfire. And I like those chances for the Mets to take advantage with having the best rotation, not just in the division, but one of them in all of baseball with that potential for sure. So yeah, we got Castellanos, we got Jansen talked about. Now let's get into the big one. The first one, it's not official yet, but it was broken by a reliable source, a fellow YouTuber at iTalk Studios. He's been spot on with his reporting. He has sources, and he's a diehard Red Sox fan. There's been all these links, but yeah, Red Sox are getting Trevor Story. We'll see exactly the term of the deal. I don't know if that's going to come out at the time of being live here right now. We'll probably know by the time this is on a replay. I'm sleeping late in the morning as you're watching this by now. But yeah, Red Sox get Story. He'll be their second baseman more than likely. Xander Bogaerts, there's a very good chance he's going to hit the market after this upcoming season. So in that scenario, then it looks like Story very well could shift to shortstop as their more longer-term fit, depending on exactly the term of that contract. So again, yet to be determined what exactly it is looking like. But the biggest blockbuster of them all is, yes, the Minnesota Twins. The Minnesota effing Twins have signed Carlos Correa to a 3-year, $105.3 million deal. Correa is now going to be the highest paid AAV shortstop infielder in baseball. He will have a chance to hit the market after 2 seasons from now. You know, he has an opt-out after the first 2 years here. Correa is not going to be in Minnesota for a long time. He's going to be in there for a fun time. I don't know what Minnesota's doing. They still don't have enough pitching depth. If they land a Montas or a Manaea, then they're cooking. Then they're definitely in a better spot. Their infield looks absolutely sick right now. It looks so much better than what it did when you have Polanco balling out the way he is, as is right now. Now they also bring in, yes, that being in, of course, Carlos Correa. But the funniest thing about this Correa news, guys, more than anything to me, is the fact that the Twins absolutely swindled the Yankees. It all makes perfect sense now. The Josh Donaldson trade was such a head scratcher at the time. What have Yankees fans been preaching for all offseason long? It was Carlos Correa to land in Queens. I mean, not Queens, pardon me, even though, yes, we would have liked that, the Bronx. And what were the Yankees reluctant to do? To sign a long-term shortstop because they're so committed to prospects. That, don't get me wrong, they have great young prospects, but they still have to prove themselves, right? Correa is arguably the best shortstop out there. He's only 27 years of age. How can you go wrong? Well, the Twins were able to unload that entire Josh Donaldson contract and in return got themselves arguably the best shortstop in baseball in a win now stage. Again, regardless on the Twins' success they had this year, they're going to be a fun team to watch. Byron Buxton, if he's healthy, is an MVP potential type player. They got a lot going on. So I'm just happy that we saw that Carlos Correa is not landing in the NL, because I did see rumblings of the Braves chiming in on Correa, and I believe that they were. The Mets, I don't think that they were ever heavily in on Correa. And again, Correa never felt like a likelihood in Queens unless the Mets simply gave him a 1-year deal where they, offered, upwards of $40 million. So I was never getting my hopes up on Correa. The only circumstance where it truly made sense is if it was a 1-year deal. Other than that, we shouldn't have expected anything. Even 3 years is something that I wouldn't have expected the Mets to do here. And just what a move, again, for the Minnesota Twins. Absolute blockbuster. No one expected this. I know I didn't. I know you guys didn't either. Just absolutely massive news. And yeah, Carlos Correa is a Minnesota Twin. I'm happy. I'm so happy that the Twins fleeced the Yanks the way that they did too. Just such smart and strategic work by their front office. A Twins team that, of course, is smaller market, so there's no chance in hell that they can afford a Carlos Correa on, a decade's worth of $300+ million. But for them to swoop in the way that they did, it just gives me further encouragement, not just for the Mets, but for many teams, that if stuff is going to happen, there's a good chance we're not going to find out about that stuff until it actually happens. Same thing with the Braves, respectively. As much as it pisses me off with what the Braves are doing, making themselves somehow an even better team than what they were when they won the World Series, they're breaking their own news. And I respect that. I really admire teams that are not letting anything possibly get leaked out there until it's too late, until the damage is done, until that decision is made. That's exciting. That's really exciting, man. So I'm excited overall for what's next in baseball. The big dominoes have fallen. All of them are gone. All the main guys on the market are now gone. The best available bat now on the free agent market is Michael Conforto. So I do imagine we will find out the results of Michael Conforto and where he is going to land. And awfully similar to Carlos Correa, Michael Conforto, the only way I see him in a reunion in Queens is, again, if he signs basically a 1 or 2 year deal. Maybe you opt out after that first year. Not getting my hopes up either. I did see rumblings again from suspect Twitter accounts, so keep it in mind. But I did see that the Rangers apparently have shown interest in Michael Conforto. And look, if Michael's going to go anywhere, just keep him away from the New York Mets. Keep him out of the division. I'm perfectly fine if he goes to the Texas Rangers, and that'll give me further incentive to watch the Texas Rangers. So if he's going to go anywhere, have him go in the AL. I would love it if he went to the White Sox personally, because I like the White Sox. They're my favorite AL team. But if he goes to the Rangers, I won't complain either. Maybe they'll be able to give him the type of contract he's looking for. But with the Phillies landing Castellanos, we all know Conforto isn't going there. The Padres are a team that I'm still keeping my eye on, because Jorge Soler, that other big bat on the market, I should say. Soler, the Padres have been ingrained with him, so have the Braves. So it's kind of a lose situation for us Mets fans. If Soler goes to either spot, it's obviously better if he goes to San Diego over the Braves, just because the Braves, we don't need them to add another power bat in this division that's already loaded with the two other teams besides the Mets. So we're going to find out what Soler's market is going to look like if he has a decision soon on a presumed 3 to 5 year deal. But Conforto is really that last bat outside of Soler. So very exciting stuff. Nonetheless, I'm going to address a donation, then we'll go further. And again, I know most of you guys are watching this on replay early morning, whenever you are. So thank you guys so much for being here. Please make sure to let me know in the comments, how do you feel about these blockbuster moves? And again, it happened at 2 a.m. All I can say is good thing I watched Batman so late, or I would be sound asleep right now. So everything kind of worked out in the end. Everything did. And again, don't get me wrong, the Phillies, the Braves are going to give the Mets a run for their money this year. The Braves are still the team to beat in the division. I believe the Mets are still the second best team in this division. I will stand by that. They actually have defense and they have the best rotation here. Mets are going to definitely be in a grind. It's going to be exciting. These games are going to be constantly fun. And I do hope that these moves, at least in the division, puts a slight fire under Steve Cohen's ass, not to the extent of, hey, you got to go out and do a blockbuster trade. Because let's be real here. It's not a strong likelihood that the Mets are able to do anything drastic in the trade market unless they get unbelievably creative, because of the fact that the Mets simply don't have assets that they can part with the way that other great contending teams can, because they have deeper prospect pools. So, and Austin Meadows, would I love him from the Rays? Yes. Is he a power bat, a 26-year-old with so much pop that can also play the corner outfield / DH if need be? Yes. Is he controllable? Yes. Is he likely? I don't think so, just because the Rays are such a smart team. They're so hard to do deals with, because normally when you do a trade with the Rays, you're like, okay, how do we lose this trade somehow? Either way, though, the Mets, obviously, they're banking on some guys to bounce back this year. I agree with it to an extent. Dom Smith, I think, is going to have a bounce back year, but he still needs to prove himself. And the fact that the Mets just have, I would say, one more guy than I would prefer that's going to be in the starting lineup that needs to prove himself, I do hope that they go out and land another bat, especially because of that outfield. All it takes is one injury with a Starling Marte that isn't healthy right now, a Brandon Nimmo that's known for his injury concerns, as unfortunate as that is, and a Mark Canha who's not getting any younger. One significant injury, and the Mets are betting on a Travis Jankowski, a Khalil Lee, a Nick Plummer to be in that outfield. And don't get me wrong, clearly Nick Plummer especially, they could do wonders for the Mets. They could do awesome. Clearly could be an absolute stud in the making for the Mets this year. And maybe they have more confidence in him, and rightfully so, than us fans do, even though clearly was one of the best minors hitters in the league last year. But at the end of the day, they still have to prove their worth. And for a Mets team in a win now stage, there's a certain lack of uncomfortability when you hear that they need to prove themselves, right? Don't get me wrong. I understand that literally everyone had a down year last year. So I understand that we're going to have to naturally bank on comeback years. That's inevitably going to happen, even if you do a trade or two. But still, add one more bat, potentially add a reliever, and we're cooking. That's all I ask. It doesn't need to be anything drastic, just something that can really round out and make us fans feel more comfortable going into the season. And again, plenty of time until the season begins. I expect the Mets to make more moves. I don't know what those moves are going to make. At this point, you can make the argument that's not going to be through the free agent market, unless it's, say, a Tommy Pham type. Maybe somehow, some way, a Conforto on a short-term deal, but still feels unlikely, or some other routes. Either way, I'm excited to see what they're going to do. I'm also excited knowing that Correa and Story are basically off the market now, which that means that, the market's going to continue to heat up now. It's going to be quick. The big names are all officially off the board. Justin, thank you so much for the dono. I appreciate that. Would love the Mets to make a move for Meadows or sign Conforto or get another reliever or two. Need a little bit more help, but I think they're done. Justin, you literally, I think I just said everything I want to say, right? So again, I appreciate that donation a lot. I think we're in the same boat. I think the Mets are, for a certain degree, to a certain degree, they're content right now, but they're definitely a team that we all agree can just use a little bit more. Nothing drastic. They just a little more, just something to instill, something to make us Mets fans feel that everything was rounded out in the end, that we don't have to necessarily be concerned if a major injury happens this season, which unfortunately, as much as I don't wish that to happen, of course, anything can happen. But Justin, thank you for that donation. I appreciate it. Let's see here. I'm going through the chat right now. NYM guy, thank you so much for that. It's delusional to think the Mets are not third on paper at this point. I think no. I'm gonna stop you right there. I think it's delusional to think that the Mets are third right now. Please enlighten me how the Mets are third in the division right now. Do they have more pop in their lineup than the Phillies and the Braves? On paper, no, they do not. Do the Mets have the best rotation out of those three? Yes, they do. Do the Mets have a strong bullpen? Do they have a better bullpen than the Phillies? Yes, they do. Do the Mets have a better team defense by far than the Philadelphia Phillies? Yes, they do. And do the Mets have not just the best rotation in the division, but do they have the two best pitchers in baseball? Yes, they do. So no, I'm sorry, but I don't look at just these latest moves and suddenly think, oh my goodness, the Mets are the third best team in the division. They have to prove themselves. I get that. There will be a decent chance that the Mets are third at points throughout the season. But the point is that what the Mets have right now is still more well-roundedness than the Phillies could ever hope for. Phillies are such a boomer bust team that all it's going to take is some cold streaks to really ease them down. Yes, Castellanos had a great year last year. Castellanos also was piss poor on the road. Let's see how he does in a fellow hitter's park. Again, I expect him to ball out in Philly like Schwarber because Citizens Bank is just such an easy park to hit the ball out of. We all know that by now. The point is that I completely disagree with this notion. Let's not act foolish. Let's not act delusional, as you would say, that the Mets are the third best team right now. No, the Mets on paper are the second best team, and the Braves are number one, not just because of what they currently have, but they're the reigning World Series champions more than anything. I respect your opinion wholeheartedly. I just completely disagree. But again, that's the whole point of having these discussions. It's okay to disagree. I appreciate the donation and your input, no less. Thank you so much for that. Let's see. Noah, thank you so much for the $2 donut. I appreciate that as well. Enjoy the streams because it gets my mind off of a lot of things in life. Oh, thank you so much, Noah. Again, I appreciate your support, buddy. And again, shout out everybody. Sign Story's going to the Red Sox. It's not official yet, but he's basically a Red Sox. That's why we got on the graphic. That's why I got on the thumbnail. If it falls out, then when I wake up, I will change it. Absolutely. But yeah, I think most people in the live stream right now, and if you're watching replay, we're all under the same belief for the most part, right? We would like the Mets to do a little bit more. Late stream, any news? Jason, just look at the graphic. Just look at the graphic. There's your news. There's your news. The biggest dominoes have fallen. That is your news, my friend. The biggest dominoes have fallen. But yeah, I don't got too much more to say other than this. Just absolutely nuts. That'll be 2:30 a.m. Again, appreciate everyone here in the live stream. But yeah, I'm just so blown away. I'm truly so blown away by the Minnesota Twins. They fooled everybody. And you know what? I love it. I love it because it's not in the division. I was concerned that the Phillies would swoop in and go after a Correa or a Story. And I love it. The Phillies did not land either of those. The Phillies needed a Correa or Story far more than anything else with that piss poor defense of an infield that they have. So let them roll out Alec Boehm, even if he has a bounce back year. Let them roll out Didi. Let them do whatever they want. Let them have Schwarber in left. Let them have Bryce in center. And Bryce at right. And let them have who's going to be at center, right? Castellanos is corner outfield. Are you going to toy one of them in the center? Because right now at DH, you can make the argument that Rhys Hoskins should probably be there because Rhys ain't anything special at first base. He's subpar, to put it lightly. All I know is that the Phillies, again, they're going to be boom and bust. They're going to have their crazy hot streaks. They're definitely going to have their streaks where they are killing the Mets, just endless home run power. But they are just such a one-dimensional team that unless they drastically do something, which, again, they have more time to make more moves. I'm fully aware of that. But as things currently stand, that team is so predictable. It is so beatable. They are going to get themselves in their own way. Dave Dombrowski listened to Bryce to get these big bats, but he made the biggest mistake along with Bryce by committing too much to something so one-sided. If they went all in and got Correa, I'm far more concerned. Then you get yourself a battle of the shortstops in this division between himself, Lindor, and Dansby Swanson to an extent. Even if they landed Story, I'm feeling a lot less comfortable because Story actually knows how to play defense and is going to have a better year than what he had last year, especially if that was in the hitter's park of Philly. So, yeah, that's just my take. It's going to be a crazy division this year. Teams are not done making moves, but all I can say is that I still feel very confident that the Mets are number 2 in this division. John, thank you so much for the donut. I appreciate that. The funny thing is that even if the Mets made all their moves after the lockout, like the Braves and Phillies, the attitude would be different. Oh, of course. This doesn't just go a Mets fan, and this goes with all baseball fans and sports fans. We forget things. Look, Chris Bassett didn't happen all that long ago, and same with Adam Ottavino, but people are acting like it was light years ago because the Mets haven't done much since. That's just how it works. That's just how it works. People think that Scherzer, who's right in the middle there, Scherzer, Starling Marte, Canna, Escobar, people think like that just didn't happen. And I think that, look, I completely understand the arguments for saying that, hey, I'm really excited about the Mets this year. This is the best lineup they've had in years. I am slightly disappointed, however, that we're banking a little too much on guys that have comeback years. Not that they can't have comeback years, but just the fact that they need to prove it when I felt that the Mets could have won after certain guys in either the market or the trade market, even though I will agree that there were guys out there that weren't really easy to get. There were some that you can make the argument, but again, we don't know exactly what those situations were like. We're never going to know the details, but for the fans that somehow, some way just disregard what the Mets have done this year, for those specific fans, the ones that are not aware of how drastic the Mets moves made, for the ones that aren't aware that the Mets have the best rotation in not just the division, but arguably baseball, for the ones that aren't aware the Mets are on-base kings now with their outfield. As long as everyone just plays to their potential, they're going to have a tremendous amount of offensive production that completely pushes down what we saw last season. These things need to happen. Every team needs to prove themselves by playing. I'm aware of that. But for those fans that are just disregarding what is currently there and acting as if it's not, that there's nothing you can do at that point. They'll have to be proven wrong. Probably the easiest way is by winning games and winning a lot of them. I've been following every second of every day of this team for quite a while now. And every single step of this offseason, I have been beyond ecstatic with what the Mets have done. I can't get over the offseason that they have. I'm still smiling ear to ear about it. I would like them to add again another bat to round things out, even if it's something crazy. I'm content with the Tommy Pham. I would love a Conforto on a 1-year deal. I would love Austin Meadows via trade. I would love something else via trade that maybe we never even thought of. Just something creative that, again, will help just give Mets further depth, especially in the scenario of injuries. That's truly the only concern I have, is based on health. Mets need to prove they're healthy. We know how every season goes. And the same thing can be said with the bullpen. I would like the Mets to add one more quality lefty in that pen. If they're committed to David Pearson, using him as a swing man, then okay, I'll wait and see that situation for sure, because David Pearson has all the potential in the world to be a dominant southpaw in the pen. He's shown flashes of greatness as a starter, just not consistently yet, and there isn't a room for him in the rotation, so you might as well toy with him in the pen. But the biggest thing is that they need to prove all these things, right? And that's why it's so hard to evaluate, how exactly things are going to go. I can predict all I want. You can predict all I want. I can have a firm stance this way. You can have a firm stance that way. At the end of the day, they still need to prove themselves. And because they need to prove themselves, that's why it's always better to have more certainties than uncertainties, which is, again, why I firmly believe the Mets are not done making moves. Because, again, if they showed interest in Trevor Story, which I know that they did, that tells you that, yes, they were still active in the market. Even though that they didn't land him, that's perfectly fine that they didn't. Again, Story never truly made sense unless you trade Jeff McNeil. So, and Mets aren't going to just trade Jeff McNeil for the sake of trading Jeff McNeil. Steve, thank you so much for the dono. An underwater aquarium is finer than frog hair. What? Steve, I don't know what the inner meaning of this is. You got to put me onto that hoopla, because I genuinely have no clue. Benintendi is quite literally a Michael Conforto type. So if you're going to go and consider Benintendi, you might as well just bring Michael back. No, Kim. If the Mets brought back Conforto, I would imagine he would split time with Canna at right /DH. Whoever's not playing would be at DH or off the bench. That's the thing. I know that Conforto wants to be guaranteed playing every day, and that's a further reason why I don't see him coming back outside of him wanting a longer-term deal. Saw that Texas is still interested in Trevor Story. Okay. Well, if Texas is still interested in Trevor Story, I can change the thumbnail. It just feels like he's going to the Red Sox now. I'm just checking right now, folks. Okay. So I know that we're, 25 plus minutes into this. If you've been watching the whole thing, then as of now, Trevor Story is not officially confirmed to the Red Sox. I'm going to keep him on the thumbnail for now. I'm going to keep him in the graphic. So we'll see. We'll see. Isaac's credibility is on the line. Oh, absolutely. I mean, if the Red Sox don't end up keep getting Story, then yeah, that is on Isaac, because I know he's the one that tweeted out, because he's been right about a bunch of things. That's why, and it just makes sense more than anything. Like, there was the Red Sox have been viewed as quite literally the favorite for a lot of reasons. But again, this is a free agent market. We know how these things go. A lot of things don't, go as nearly as expected. We've seen that by now. Frog hair is very fine. Okay. Story on the thumbnail is warranted. Yeah, I'm gonna keep him there. All right, fine. I say walk. But anyways, Jansen isn't that good, to be honest. He's 50-50 player. Jansen is very similar to Edwin Diaz. As long as Jansen's on, he's one of the best closers in the game. But he's also erratic, and we've seen that last year, being in the 8th percentile in walk percentage. So, is he a guy that you can crack? Absolutely. But Jansen, again, if you just look at his percentiles through Baseball Savant too, he's MLB's elite. He's still an absolute stud. His advanced numbers were very good last year. Not as good as his normal ERA. He had a 2.2 ERA last season, and I think right around 60 innings pitched, and he also had a 2.8 plus times ERA. So again, regardless, that was a great pickup for the Braves. I mean, when you look at how their bullpen was going to the playoffs, they had guys that played their absolute asses off. Something that, like the entire team, they just played otherworldly. And that's something that you can't bank on happening again. So Jansen's still a great pickup for them. Yes, it's a big price for 1 year, but when you're in a win now stage, how can you go wrong? They didn't feel too confident when you look at their bullpen. I don't blame them. So again, Jansen's huge for them. I hate it. I hate it that the Braves landed him. Do I think that changes a drastic amount, competing with the Mets? No. They just have, a far superior closer than what they've been accustomed to. Jansen, in a lot of ways, is very Edwin Diaz-esque. With when they're on, they are just simply disgusting. They're dominant. But when they're off, they're off, And again, Kim, thank you so much for the donut. I appreciate that. Real talk, if the Braves missed out on Correa, what are the chances they lean towards Story? All rumors, but crazy to think. Yeah, I don't. Story, you can make the argument, but at this, no. Story, there's no fit for him. There's literally no fit for him in Atlanta. They got one of the best second basemen in baseball in Albies as is, and you're not going to play Story at third because you got Austin Riley there. Riley's not going to DH more than likely because you have Marcell Ozuna you're worrying about. They're in talks still for Jorge Soler. Jorge Soler can't play defense if it smacked him across the face. So, and Acuna is going to play DH for the first month of him returning. That Anthopoulos said to the media recently, I saw, because he won't be ready defensively yet, but he can still rehab by getting at bats in, which again helps. The universal DH helps the Braves a lot because they can bring Acuna essentially at least a month sooner back into the lineup than what it would have been if there wasn't a universal DH. I know you talked about this into exhaustion, but I don't understand how the Mets didn't go after a lefty. Jack, I don't think the Mets are done. The Mets got a very solid lefty in Chase and Shreve, who I'm perfectly fine with. I don't think they're done, however. I don't think they're done. If the Mets don't land any more lefties in their bullpen, I will be very surprised, unless that is because that they are banking on putting David Pearson as a swingman in the pen, which can be justified. That's something that makes a hell of a lot of sense. And again, some of that could be innings eater for you too. Maybe a spot starter if they want to get creative. There's so much potential with someone like Pearson in the pen. I love the idea. I just don't know if they're committed to it yet, if at all. So that's why I would say I wouldn't be sold on the notion that, the Mets are for sure not going to land another lefty. It's just a wait and see. What I will say, however, is that the chances of the Mets trading for, say, a Taylor Rogers basically feels slim to none now. You don't land Carlos Correa and trade away your best reliever in doing so. Twins are in a win now stage. I expect Rogers to stay there. And damn, were they a smart ass team, pardon my French, but they were. They essentially got rid of Josh Donaldson and landed Carlos Correa because of it. Because they wouldn't have landed Correa if they had that Donaldson contract. They don't have the payroll for it. So, man, oh man, Yankees just keep losing. They just keep losing. And I'm for it. Chances Beatty is brought up, little to no chance. Swanson is gone after this year. Yeah, if they let him hit the market. If they let him walk, is my point. Regardless, though, there's no room for them to land a Story. I think Story's going to the Red Sox. When did the Red Sox sign Story? It's not officially official yet, but it looks like it's more than likely going to happen. Again, this is what we talked about. It might not be official for a while, and maybe the Rangers are still involved. Maybe some other Texas Rangers will be crazy if they land Story. Because again, if you guys don't know, Story is a Texas native. He felt like a great fit for the Rangers to begin with, but then they landed 2 star shortstops, with one of them playing at second. That's going to be Marcus Semien, and then Corey Seager is going to play short. The fact that they're still interested in Trevor Story, assuming that Story isn't official with the Red Sox yet, is absurd. Because then you're looking at him potentially playing third base and or the corner outfield, or DH, however you want to go about things. But if Red Sox are not able to land Story, if say it falls through, and he goes to the Rangers, man, that will be crazy. Rangers are doing craziness this offseason. It's really fun to watch, though. It's entertaining. What's up, Pat? I'm the captain now. Pat, I think you're the farthest thing from the captain, my guy. You thought you were getting Carlos Correa. No, you got Josh Jansen is what you got. So I don't think you're captain, my guy. I think I still got that captaincy. Appreciate you chopping in, no less. Shout out Unhinged Yanks. We love him. Ed Flood. Didn't it seem a little weird that the Mets were so aggressive and just stop being aggressive and easily could have put Chafin? Just seems fishy. No, I think the Mets have been busy this entire time. We just have to realize that the Mets are not in a position where they can just land every guy known to man. Andrew Chafin, again, I've talked about it endlessly, and I'll say it again. Who knows how interested the Mets were in Andrew Chafin? They were in on him, but to what degree, right? Is Chafin someone that preferred Detroit, given the fact that he's closer to his home versus what he would have been if he went to Queens? Do the Mets view that Chafin will not progress well and be worth that contract over the next 2 years? These are things that you have to think about, because it's so easy to just assume that, say, oh my goodness, the Mets are being cheap. They didn't throw out that money. Money isn't an issue for the Mets. But what we have to realize is that just because the Mets have the richest owner in baseball does not mean that they're going to just act like drunken sailors and do what the Phillies did. I'm telling you right now, if the Phillies signed Castellanos to a 5-year, $100 million deal and a Kyle Schwarber to a 480, I'm livid. I'm absolutely livid. Would I be excited in the short term? Absolutely. That's so much fun. But would I be livid because, one, I know that we're losing defense completely, and 2, those contracts are destined to not age well? Yes, I would be. So, everyone has a price, right? I love that the Mets make perfect sense for a bunch of players, but at the right price, at the right term. This is not a team that can just go out and act like, oh, I'm going to get that guy. I'm going to get that guy. They got to be smart. They've been smart all offseason. Eduardo Escobar, one of the best contracts in all free agency. A potential 30-plus, 35-plus home run hitter with 90-plus RBI potential as your starting third baseman, and all you spent was $20 million over 2 years. That isn't being cheap. That's being effing smart. Starling Marte, you did a slight overpay, I would say, by 1 year, but you need to do it because of the fact that the Phillies were heavily in on Marte. Think about it. The Mets are the reason why the Phillies have such a piss-poor defense. The Mets landed the best center fielder out there when the Phillies were trying every single way possibly to land Marte. Thankfully, Marte wanted to be a Met. He's been wanting to be a Met for years. We saw reports about it years ago as well. Mets have always wanted Starling Marte. They get a ridiculous guy with speed on the bags, 47 stolen bags last year. And they also get someone that will give the Mets more range at center than Nimmo. Not that Nimmo is bad at center, but I want Nimmo to stay in the left. I know he's playing at center right now just because Marte's not fully healthy. But Marte, when healthy, has a stronger arm in center, gives him more range, also helps Nimmo get the best out of him health-wise, assumably. And then you get Mark Canha, who's an on-base king. He's a right-handed Brandon Nimmo. The only difference is that he doesn't have the ceiling in Nimmo because he's a little bit older. But Canha is he's just going to continue to be a place setter. He's going to give the Mets endless opportunities to get a run scored. These are things that matter. The only thing that sticks out again about this Mets team one more time is the fact that they seem on paper that they are lacking that home run powder. Power. See, it's almost 3 a.m. That's why I can't speak. You have Pete Alonso. You have Francisco Lindor. You have Eduardo Escobar. You're banking on Dom Smith and Robinson Cano, however, because that outfield, you're not going to get a lot. Can they have career years and prove us wrong? Absolutely. But again, you have to prove us wrong. Brandon Nimmo, what? At tops, you're going to get 15 home runs out of? Maybe, right? Tops 15, maybe somehow, some way, maybe touching 20, but that's pushing it. Starling Marte, same exact type of thing. Mark Canha, same exact type of thing. So the Mets, the only thing that I see with them that is not concerning, but something I would like them to do more, and I've been saying this entire time, just give us another bat that will make me more comfortable with the depth of either this outfield or just this offense overall. Get a little more slugging in there, and if they don't, they're clear. Again, if they don't, that can end up being perfectly fine. They just got to prove it. And that's the only, again, I know I keep saying it, but when you have to prove something that's unproven, naturally fans, until they see a result, are going to be concerned because they know that it may not work out, an injury might happen. I know I'm rambling a bit, but trust me, I feel very confident in what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm expressing that enough. Enrique, thank you so much for the $5 donation. You've been a great supporter on the channel for a while, so thank you so much for that. Story to Rangers was a break in years, wasn't it? They want 2, he wants 4. I don't know. I don't know the reasoning between Story and Rangers apart. I genuinely don't know. Sam Smith really our fourth outfielder? Potentially in left field, but I think we're going to see Dom at DH more than anything. Because we all know that Dom can't play. We all know Dom can't play the field. And I'll get sleep. Don't worry about me. I just wanted to rant for a little bit. My eyes are slumping. Wouldn't your eyes be slumping if you were in my position? Thank you for the bless you. I appreciate that. Like I said, we won't be going on too much longer. Guys, continue smashing that like and subscribe button. Always appreciate it. Help us get to, we can get the lives. If we can get this to like 400 likes at some point after it's on replay, that would really mean a lot. And again, thank you guys for that. I'm not terrified of the Phillies. Hell no. Hell no. I'm terrified. Let me put it in context of this. Am I always going to be concerned of the Phillies offense? 1000%. They got Harper. They got Schwarber, who's a Mets killer. They got Castellanos, who's a big home run hitter that had a great, career year last year. They have JT Realmuto. They have Rhys Hoskins, who I'm gonna be a little blunt here. He's kind of a bitch. I'm sorry. Never liked Rhys Hoskins. My man's got offended by what's his name for the Mets that threw at him when there was never any intent there. They literally went so far to be playing that as hype in Iron Pigs games, which was so stupid. Jacob Rame. Yeah, because Jacob Rame had it out for Rhys Hoskins. So he hit the home run. Rhys is the softest first baseman. No, softest infielder, if not baseball player in all the MLB. What a schmuck. I'm sorry. Literally so soft, subpar first base defense. Hits a home run and then he doesn't do anything for 15 games. Get out of here. This team is so swing and miss, guys. Like I said, they're gonna have their hot streaks. I 100% expect them to have their hot streaks. And it's going to suck when they have their hot streaks. But when they have those cold streaks, by God, are those cold streaks going to suck. And we know what those cold streaks are like as Mets fans that have been so swing and miss in previous years during the juice ball era. So no, I am not worried about the damn Phillies. They have to prove to me that they are the team to beat. Right now, the only team to beat in this damn division is the Atlanta Braves, and rightfully so. That is the team we should be worried about. We have to step up. We need to take our game to another level. And same thing with the LA Dodgers. Those are the teams you worry about. The Phillies, pond scum. You know what to do. And I know I'm ranting. I know it's almost 3 a.m. So I know Phillies fans that are going to watch this as well are going to be upset. I'm not trying to please Phillies fans in hindsight. This is a Mets channel. I expect it whenever I go to Phillies games. I get heckled left and right. Not that it fazed me, but I know what to expect. I'm the enemy, just the same way that they are the enemy. But I don't mean anything personal. I will say that with the Philly fans. I know that I have Philly fans that support the channel. So all you guys, I do appreciate it. I know the Phillies, again, they're going to have awesome offense this year. But it honestly makes me laugh how this is a damn team. And then I'll wrap up my talk about the Phillies. It just makes me laugh how the team that literally their season ended, they couldn't even sniff playoffs. They collapsed in the second half like they've been doing for how many years now because of defense, because of a Joe Girardi who's so behind on the 8 ball with common analytics that they're nowhere. They're absolutely nowhere. But no, but I'm Bryce Harper. Let's go out and get ourselves a Kyle Schwarber. Let's go out and get ourselves a Nick Castellanos. In hindsight, I'm going to be completely honest. The Phillies would have been better off landing Kris Bryant on that contract, not for the longer term, but especially for, I'd say, the first 3-4 years, over being cheaper with Castellanos and Schwarber, because, yes, Kris Bryant actually knows how to play defense. It might not be Gold Glove defense, but by God, is better than those two. They could have went out and got Kris Bryant, and they honestly could have went out and got Michael Conforto as well. They probably would be in a better spot than they are right now when it comes to well-roundedness. So, yeah, that's it. That's my rant. That's my rant on the Phillies. We'll see how they do. And Darren, what's up, buddy? I know that's early morning for you. Friar Frank, thank you so much for the donation, buddy. I appreciate that. I'm a little confused, as previously stated. We missed out on a few guys that we definitely could have afforded, bro. That's the issue here. I can't sit here and say that the Mets completely missed out because I don't know, one, what they potentially have in store next. I don't know, two, what the mindset of those players were, how much interest, if at all, do they have to come into Queens? And three, this is how did the Mets truly ever prioritize these guys? Were they reluctant to prioritize these guys? This is the biggest problem when we discuss the Mets or any team for that matter, not just the Mets, because it's so easy to look at, oh my God, Jock Pearson, 1 year, $6 million deal. Why didn't the Mets do that? Well, Jock is also a Bay Area native. Makes sense that he would go to San Francisco. Maybe he even took a lesser deal and got offered higher deals from other teams, in the assumption that the Mets had some interest there. But my point being is that, again, it's very easy to assume when in reality there's so many levels that go into player evaluation and what was determined. And unfortunately for us fans, we'll never know for certain. There are only certain things that get reported. Not very often do we see things reported to the extent of we know exactly why this did or didn't happen. So yeah, that's really just my take overall. You can make your assumptions, and I can't necessarily say you're wrong if I don't know the information either. But all I'm saying is to definitely keep more of an open-mindedness behind these things, because the Mets have proven us to this offseason that they're very much doing a fantastic job, and no one should ever think otherwise with what they're doing. All us Mets fans want is a little bit more. Maybe that's a selfishness on our part. And again, if it is, and they prove us wrong, then by God, they were right. And then, we have every right to be shut up here. I'm not complaining. I'm not arguing. I just want a little more. Just a sprinkle. Give me the cherry on top. We got the whipped cream there. Just give me the damn cherry, and then we're cooking. And thank you for the compliment on the nice city. I appreciate that. And I know I need sleep. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I don't plan to do any content today, guys, unless Mets news happens. I do have a busy day technically today, so we'll see. I'll try to be watching the Mets. Mets spring training game will not be aired today either, so never mind. I won't be watching it. But yeah, I'll be wrapping things up in a second. I just want to get some further thoughts in here. Scherzer's 14-4 with a 2.50 ERA against Phillies. I love that. Absolutely love that. Brian Frank, thank you so much for the donation. I understand what you're saying. I'm not complaining about our offseason. I just feel like there's a void or a missing piece. I agree with you. Wholeheartedly agree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. There would be more comfortability amongst fans if they just do one more thing. That's it. Really. And again, thank you so much for the donation, Ferrari Frank. I appreciate that. Any chance Javi comes back in 2 years? I mean, it's possible, especially if the Mets are done with Jeff McNeil by then. But again, that's a wait and see. Brian, have a good night, my friend. Let's see. Yeah, no, I think that's it. I think that's all I really got to say. I could go on for hours, but when you're so tired, and I've done this on streams before, where I'm answering questions like I'm talking, but I don't know where I am. I think we've all been there, right? Say you have a really long day at work or something. Like you're doing everything you got to do, but like you're just kind of in this like you're just in this like little world where like you're effortlessly doing everything, but it doesn't make sense at the same time. Like you're not like there aren't much thoughts running. You're just spewing, and somehow, some way, what you're spewing is working. That is where I will find myself at fairly soon if I do not head out. So yeah, I really don't got much else to say. Like I said, we'll have more great live streams coming up on the channel soon. Hopefully, when that does happen, it's because the Mets did some more moves. I'm going to be an optimist. And the biggest reason why I'm being an optimist here is because, one, the Mets have acted like, silent. They've acted like guys in the shadows at night. They're doing stuff right now where most of it wasn't reported prior at all. And so that's why I do have confidence. I have no clue when the Mets are going to do something. That's what makes it fun. They get to stress me out 24/7 and have me not wanting to leave the house because that's how I work around them. If you haven't noticed that by now. But all jokes aside, I do expect the Mets to make more moves. I'm intrigued by the fact that they showed interest in Trevor Story. That to me tells me that they are not done. They are exploring all options out there, and we're going to see if a Michael Conforto reunion happens on a short-term deal. Not getting my hopes up, but it's possible. A Tommy Pham, something via trade, a reliever via trade, or even give me Tony Watson on the free agent market. Like, give me something. Give me Tony Watson and Chasen Shreve, and I'm feeling a million times more comfortable heading into the season with the lefties in the pen versus what I did prior, which was nothing. This is assuming that they don't bank on David Pearson as a swingman. But yeah, like what we want isn't anything drastic. They already did the drastic stuff. The Mets already did the big bang. Like we already saw that. Just round it out a little bit. Just again, add that cherry on top. Yeah, the Sox didn't sign Story. Sox didn't sign. Yeah, I know the Sox didn't sign Story. Okay. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'll change the thumbnail. So when this is watched on a replay, I'll change the thumbnail. Isaac looked like he jumped the gun a little bit there. It's a little rude. And yeah, that's it. Nothing personal against him, but it looks like he jumped the gun as of now. So I'll change the thumbnail. Trevor Story will still be on there, but I'll just have it so he's just there. We'll see where Story lands. I think he's still going to land with them regardless. But I don't know. That's it. I'm out of here. Have a great night, folks. Thank you guys so much, everyone that watched. Get some sleep. If you're in a different time zone, there's further justification why you're here. Otherwise, you're just crazy like me, and you decide to rant and go live for upwards of an hour. Thank you guys so much. I'll be back live potentially sometime later today, only if Mets stuff happens. I would like to emphasize only if Mets stuff happens or if Conforto goes somewhere. Because if it Conforto goes somewhere, I definitely want to talk about it because that is still important to me. Thank you guys again. Love and appreciate you all. Smash that like and subscribe on if you enjoyed this ramblingness that was called a live stream. And I'll see you guys very soon. Peace out. Have a good night. Let's go Mets. Get some sleep.